Baseball Classic episode. Jack, Peter, Just Baseball show. Today is Tuesday, March 7th, and with World Baseball Classics Pool A getting underway in Taiwan tomorrow, might as well talk about it. That is not the pool that features the U.S. or the Dominican Republic or Japan. But you know what? We got people fighting for a world championship, which is really cool. Peter's betting preview for the World Baseball Classic has been out for a couple days. We're going to dive into the first meaningful baseball that we get in 2023. You excited?
Yeah, and I think it's some of the best baseball that we're going to see all year. And I think one of the more interesting subplots of the World Baseball Classic is, a lot of these guys are playing real baseball. It's going to feel like a playoff atmosphere, but they're not going to have to deal with the same rules. The pitch clock is a big one, right? I wonder how Francisco Lindor or Mike Trout or any of the pitchers on any of these World Baseball Classic teams, how they're going to feel playing playoff atmosphere type baseball without those rules, and then transitioning with just a few weeks, maybe a week or so, back to the rules of MLB baseball. I wonder if it's going to help, if it's going to hurt. But the World Baseball Classic in itself is an incredibly exciting tournament.
Do you think it's going to help or hurt?
I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue. I almost had the thought of, I wonder if it's going to help the hitters a little bit more than maybe the pitchers, because I think spring training is one thing. Like we see Miguel Vargas, his doctor hasn't cleared him to swing, right, so he's just tracking pitches right now. But I wonder if some of the big time hitters, especially in the Team USA lineup and in other lineups, they're going to get a head start on the season, right? When some guys, it takes a little while to get going. Yeah. I think it could actually help them transition from real baseball again to real baseball instead of just kind of messing around in spring training.
Yeah. Are you worried about the stress that it'll put on the pitchers? Because obviously these pitch counts will be limited. And that's a conversation that we got to get to when we get to the quarters, the semis, and the championship. Like, how many innings are these starting pitchers going to throw and things like that? Assuming they'd be throwing an identical workload to that of if they were in spring training. Are you worried about the stressful high leverage moments for these guys so early on in the season, or no?
I'm worried for some.
Yeah.
Some pitchers, right? We're going to talk about the Team USA roster in a little bit. Like, I'm worried about a Clayton Kershaw, an Adam Wainwright.
Well, Kershaw's not on it, man.
Oh, Kershaw's not on it. Never mind then. Like an Adam Wainwright, a Lance Lynn. Guys like that, just older pitchers, maybe even like a Jose Quintana. I'm not even sure if he's pitching, but like guys like that, I'm a little bit worried about. But the younger guys, like a Christian Javier pitching, or even a Sandy, not as much. But for the older guys, it's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, I feel actually better about the older guys, knowing that, they can leave it all out there for the most part because they may be in the twilight of their careers. Like Adam Wainwright, we're not going to see half-ass Adam Wainwright, right?
You talking about in the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, we're going to see full bore Adam Wainwright.
That's what I'm saying.
To go win.
How many more bullets does Adam Wainwright have?
I don't know. And he may run out during the World Baseball Classic, but we shall see. We're going to walk through each pool. We're going to pick a winner and a runner-up in each pool, and then we're going to fill out the bracket and crown a champion. We'll have Aram do that probably on tomorrow's episode. Have you bought Girl Scout cookies yet this year?
No one's come to my door, but I'd love to. If anyone is, any listeners of the Just Baseball show has a Girl Scout member in their family.
On what, Lower East Side?
I was about to drop my address. Probably shouldn't drop my address.
No, don't drop your address. How about the neighborhood? Because you can walk to them. Are you Lower East Side?
No, I'm Gramercy. So it's like 25th.
Okay. So if anybody is in the Gramercy vicinity that sells Girl Scout cookies, DM Peter on Twitter.
Have you?
Inflation's a bitch, dude. How much do you think a box of Girl Scout cookies was going for? I just bought 2 in Indy.
I'm going to guess a box of Girl Scout cookies is about $10.
No, those may be New York prices. I thought 6 was steep.
No, I mean, that's, you're supporting more than just the cookies. It's not like you go to a Trader Joe's, which we both love, and just get a box of cookies. You're supporting something more. It should be that much.
I'm kind of supporting the cookies. I obviously know what else we're supporting, but like Thin Mints in the freezer, granted, small price to pay for the enjoyment that I get from Thin Mints in the freezer, but I don't know, 6 felt like a lot.
So I'm Samoa over Thin Mint, no doubt.
You're crazy.
Samoas are so good. The coconut. Ugh.
Okay. Couple spring training overreactions.
Okay.
Julio Urias is finally going to get over the hump and win a Cy Young.
Yeah. And Kodai Senga looked freaking nasty. I know he allowed a home run, but he was up to 99. A lot of spin on that breaker too. His stuff looked really, really good in his first bout, which is cool because I did a World Baseball Classic preview with Tucker Davidson on the new podcast on the Just Baseball Network. If you guys want to go check it out, the link to the first episode is in the episode description. Again, you can kind of hear the World Baseball Classic from a player's perspective, right? Guy like Luis Rengifo, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, all of these guys are playing in the World Baseball Classic, and he has that firsthand insight to talk to them, see how they're feeling. A guy like Patrick Sandoval on his pitching staff for Team Mexico, stuff like that. Really interesting episode. But what he was saying about Japanese-born pitchers is that, at least from a player's perspective, it is expected for pitchers especially to struggle when they first get here. We know it because the ball is different, like that splitter that a guy we're going to talk about, Yamamoto on Team Japan. Like he's throwing 91 mile an hour splitters in the MPB, but
may turn into 88.
It may turn into 88. And the loss of stuff a little bit is different. And he was talking about the ball in Major League Baseball. It's like a cue ball. It's really tough to grip. While in the MPB, not so much. So basically the main point is don't expect Kodai Senga to put up NPB numbers. But with that said, his first real innings in spring training looked great. So that's a great sign for Mets fans.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we've got Urias and Kodai Senga knocked out. Last one, Nick Lodolo, 3 scoreless, 2 hits, 4 punch outs, 1 walk. Lodolo, it's not like a take. It's not an overreaction to say that Lodolo is better than Hunter Green at this point, because I think that we've been kind of in that mold, that Lodolo is better than Hunter Green. But I think Lodolo can take a serious jump this year. Maybe we're getting an all-star season from Nick Lodolo.
Yeah, I think Nick Lodolo is a better pitcher than Hunter Green, but I like Hunter Green's stuff a little bit more because he's 100 with the breaker. I think Hunter Green can put up maybe more dominant performances, but I think we'll look back in 10 years and say, yeah, Nick Lodolo was the better pitcher. But regardless, like Cincinnati is set up in the rotation. Like we haven't even talked about Graham Ashcraft yet.
No, man. I mean, you got Ashcraft, you got Williamson, who looks decent at the start of spring. So could be fun. Could be really fun. But let's get into the World Baseball Classic here.
My last one, Jared Kelenic. Jared Kelenic went over the batter's
I was
eye.
going to mention Kelenic, yeah.
4th home run of spring training. If he is 80% of what people thought he would be, the Mariners are going to be dangerous. And he looks like he's doing that right now.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned Kelenic because for some reason I really wanted to move off and go to the World Baseball Classic. But I appreciate that you stopped us because that was an easy 470 that he hit that ball.
Maybe more. It was off Devin Williams, not just some bum from Northeastern like the freaking Red Sox are playing. It was a rocket. Off Devin Williams' fastball, like 96 on the outer part of the plate. He hit it at freaking center, and it was way gone.
And you mentioned 4th homer of the spring for Kelenic, and we're only 8 or 9 games in. Kelnic's probably only played, 5 games or so? So, man, if he's right, you just heard the outfield episode. We just released outfield on Monday, and Seattle's 5th, kind of discrediting Kelenic because, hey, that's like the sample that we have, right? Kelenic, not a good Major League Baseball player to this point. But if he does improve, and again, he's 80% of that potential this year, that's a top 3 outfield in baseball, maybe top 2.
Some really cool insight I was listening to on MLB Network. There was a Mariners beat reporter who was talking about
Mike Divish.
I couldn't tell you. Wasn't remember writing while listening. But I'm hearing this guy speak about Jared Kelnic's mental, and that it was a mental adjustment for him going into this season because his issue has been he's pressing too much about results and it's getting into his head. But Kelenic, what he needs to focus on is pitch by pitch. So there was one specific spring training game where he came away and said, I won every pitch today, which is so important. Simplifying the game down to a pitch by pitch basis, like win each pitch, not even win each at bat, win each pitch has been helping him a lot, says Kelenic. And if it's just that mental little twist there, we know the talent. If it's been all mental and that's going away, he could burst onto the scene and be exactly what we thought without really any downtime, if that makes sense, like without a slow start. He might just hit the ground running and become one of the better outfielders in the American League, like we always thought he could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, but like the counterpoint is he hasn't shown us that at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just saying what could happen based on what we've seen in spring training. And it's not just, he made a minor swing adjustment or something. Like mentally making that fix seems super impactful. Like we know that, that quote from Yogi Berra, like, what is it? The game is 80% physical, half is mental, or what is that quote?
It's 90% mental and the other half is physical, I want to say.
Something like that. But I mean, the 90%, like this is a mental game. This is 162, 7 months, 162 games over like 180 days. If your mental is right, and that was what was throwing you off, it's an exciting time for Mariners fans because left field is really the only hole. You could make fun of JB Crawford all you want, and I would laugh along with you, but that's not a hole. It's not a dark, like black hole in the lineup.
Right.
If Kelenic is Taylor Ward next year, if Kelenic is Taylor Ward, 23 home runs, gets on base, plays good defense, it's a really good player.
Yeah, and they're not going to win the AL West because I think even if Kelenic is Taylor Ward, they're not better than Houston, but they're a wild card team that could very well make it out of the wild card series and make it out of the ALDS and keep on going.
And they were a couple hits away from beating the Astros, and then they might beat the Yankees in that series, and then maybe we're talking about a Mariners World Series in 2022 instead of the Astros. So that's why I'm really excited for this year.
They were a Robbie Ray pitching change away from making this thing a series.
That's what I'm saying.
Fuck Robbie Ray. All right. Pool A. Let's start in Taichung, Taiwan, March 8 through 12. The 5 teams in that pool: Chinese Taipei, the Netherlands, Cuba, Italy, and Panama. We're picking a winner and a runner-up to advance to the quarterfinals. Immediately my mind goes to, okay, we can eliminate Chinese Taipei, but you say...
I say no. I say they have a good chance of winning this bracket. Let me spell it out for you. So it's a long shot, right? It's plus 750 currently, but my not gamblers, they follow line movement. And of this pool, they've seen the biggest line move from plus 950 when it opened to plus 750, which I think is fairly interesting. So Chinese Taipei, right? This Pool A is being played in Taichung City, Taiwan. In 2013, this Chinese Taipei team was ranked as the 5th best team in the entire world. They lost 4-3 to Japan in that 2013, but that Japan team went on to win the World Baseball Classic. They have some established big leaguers, a guy like Yu Chang, but the reason I like them is because this pool, unsimilarly to a lot of other pools like Pool B, Pool C, and Pool D, there isn't a prohibitive favorite. There's no Dominican Republic. There's no USA. There's no Puerto Rico, Venezuela. There's no Japan. This is a chaos-inducing pool where Cuba's the favorite, but it's not like they have this crazy, crazy good team. The other teams aren't that good either. I'm looking at a Chinese Taipei team who's playing with home field advantage because it's in Taichung City, Taiwan. They have a cohesive group. They've played together for a long time. They may take this more seriously than other teams in this type of format. They have the 4th best odds to win it. So if you were looking at a standings, they would finish 4th by the odds. I'm saying they come out of this pool.
Who's 5th? Panama?
Panama. So the odds, it is Cuba's the favorite at plus 115, Netherlands plus 250, Italy plus 400, Chinese Taipei plus 750, and then Panama plus 1600.
So I'm not even going to pretend like I know anybody that's not a big leaguer or a marquee prospect. And if you want to know about the prospects in the World Baseball Classic, just baseball.com, top prospects to watch in the World Baseball Classic. Jordan Diaz was originally supposed to be on the Panama team. Diaz pulled out. So we're looking at a team now that doesn't really have much to boast on that front. Like Panama has a couple of guys that are veteran big leaguers. And by veteran, I mean like journeyman. Then they've got Jose Ramos in the Dodger system. There isn't much star power there. Chinese Taipei, you look at it, and the only recognizable names there are Zhu Lin and Yu Chang. Zhu Lin and Yu Chang, I don't close my eyes and think they're winning the World Baseball Classic, but I understand where you're coming from, and it is a bit more of a crapshoot. It's single elimination baseball, pretty much. Yeah. Obviously, you have to win like a certain number of games in pool play, but when it comes down to the World Baseball Classic, any team can win. Like the A's beat the Astros last year once. So
yeah. And like, it's really easy to just say, yeah, Cuba's favored. Yeah, they'll win. Like, that's easy. But like, look at Cuba's roster for a second. Outside of a guy like Luis Robert and outside of a guy like Yohan Moncada, where's like the ton of firepower coming out of them? You look at the Dutch, right? And the Dutch have Xander Bogaerts, they have Jonathan Scope, but they don't really have any pitching. Italy's best pitcher is Matt Harvey. They lost Jordan Romano. And then you look at like their offense, like it's Andre Palante on the pitching side. It's Vinny Pasquantino. It's not like all the other teams are laden with superstars like the other teams are. So like USA, Japan, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, those teams.
Also, I misspoke there. Jordan Diaz playing for Colombia. Ivan Herrera was the one that was supposed to play for Panama, but Herrera dropped out. So Herrera no longer playing for Panama. You said Italy plus 400 to win the pool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that play a lot.
Yeah, I don't mind it either.
A lot.
But Matt Harvey's going to be like starting games. You win?
You think Harvey's going to be starting games?
He's the most recognizable starting pitcher on their team. I mean, Palante, of course, is the better pitcher right now. I just don't know if they're going to use him in a bullpen role, if they're going to start him. I guess Palante is the guy.
So guys that I have seen throw and didn't think they sucked out loud. Joe Biagini, Mateo Bocchi, I think was in the Cubs system for a little bit, and I kind of liked Mateo Bocchi, kind of tall, lanky guy, 6'4", 205. Matt Festa, Vinny Nittoli, Palante, obviously. Vin Timpanelli, I love Timpanelli. He's like closer mold in the Reds organization. So I'd be a fan there. But I think the bats play, man. Like infielders, you mentioned Vinny P, Fletcher, Nicky Lopez, Mastroboni, and then the outfield of Deluzio, Dominic Fletcher, Sal Frelick, all while being managed by Mike Piazza. Sign me up.
Yeah, I don't mind that team at all. And I like that pick. I'm just more going for chaos in this pool. It's just one of those pools where the other ones, like we said, Japan, USA, Mexico, Dominican Republic. So if there's going to be big upsets, I think it's going to happen in this pool. And there's no more of a cohesive unit. There's no more of a team that's played together more than this Chinese Taipei team. And they have home field advantage. They're playing in Taiwan. I think that could be enough of an edge for them to weirdly squeak by some of these teams, because it's not like they've been garbage forever. They were the fifth best team in the world back in 2013.
Yeah.
And they just haven't had a ton of success, but they're always in it. Give me that team.
Okay. So you've got Chinese Taipei to win. Are you going to roll with that?
Yes.
Who's your runner-up?
My runner-up, I do think Cuba's pretty damn good. Like they are a good team. I would pick Cuba over the Dutch or Italy. They just have a little bit more star power, and they have that firepower, and they also have a cohesive unit. So I would go Cuba as my runner-up.
So let me run you through notable players for the Netherlands before I give you my runner-up, because I have Italy to win.
Okay.
You mentioned Yohan Moncada and Luis Robert. What, Yoenis Cespedes on the Cuban team?
Yeah.
That's exciting. Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada, and Yoenis Cespedes is my White Sox pipe dream from like 3 years ago that just never really played out. Kenley Jansen is not on the active roster, I don't think, for the Dutch, but Jair Jurgens is, which is freaking awesome. Pedro Strop, I do not think is on the active roster, but the power here is in the bats. Chadwick Tromp is on this team as a catcher. Xander Bogaerts, Didi Gregorius, Richie Palacios, Jonathan Scope, Andrelton Simmons. How about Xander Will, former Vanderbilt Commodore? And then you've got Jurickson Profar, Roger Bernardina, shout out that name, and Vladimir Ballantyne, who I think is like one of the greatest hitters in NPB history.
Single season home run record in the NPB, 60 home runs for Ballantyne.
Murakami's going to break that.
Yeah, I think so. He hit 58 as a 22-year-old, and that was the most by a Japanese-born player in the NPB. But the single season record holder for home runs in the NPB was hit by 60 home runs by Ballantyne. Yeah, it's an exciting team, no doubt about it. And the thing is, I really could be convinced about any runner-up. I could be convinced about any team winning in this pool. I think it's so tough to know. But again, I put out a betting preview on Not Gambling Advice. If you want to find my official picks for this pool and all the other pools, go check out that episode. Of course, you're going to hear a lot of my insight and thoughts to this, bouncing off my guy, Jack. But that's where I'm at. I like Chinese Taipei, and then I think runner-up, pick your choice. I'll go Cuba. But
all right, I need you to pick one and write these down, by the way, because we're going to fill out the quarters, and I've got all that stuff. So you've got Chinese Taipei to win, and you've got Cuba as the runner-up. I'm going totally different way. I'm going Italy to win, and the Netherlands as the runner-up.
Love it.
So the only team getting no love is Panama, but so be it. Pool B: Japan, Korea, Australia, China, Czech Republic. Two of these teams are not like the other, and one of these teams is not like the other contender. Japan is so far and away the best team in this pool. Korea is also really good. Australia had some big leaguers drop out. China doesn't have really anybody of note. I think they lost a couple of exhibitions. Then the Czech Republic, like, these guys are electricians and finance guys that are playing baseball.
Yeah, this is Japan's pool. Like, Japan, I think, should kind of waltz their way into the title game. They're huge favorites, minus 550. But they did lose Seiya Suzuki, which is a decent blow to them. Like, he was going to be one of their best offensive players. But can we talk about pitching for a second? Shohei Ohtani.
I want to save the conversation on pitching, actually.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
When they match up with
you just want to talk offense right now?
I want to save Japan's pitching conversation. Because I want to walk through step by step with the DR when we get there.
Okay. All right, let's do it then. So yeah, I mean, Japan is the clear favorite. Korea has a decent ball club. They got Ha-seong Kim. They have a couple of decent players, but
Tommy Edman.
Yeah, Tommy Edman
and Kim as the middle infield is going to be cool.
It's a great middle infield. Like, it's kind of similar to the Dutch, where you have Xander Bogaerts and Jonathan Scope. But I can't make a logical argument for any team outside of Japan. Of course, we could see upsets, and it could be like, whoa, look at what Australia did, or look at Czech Republic. What a story. But Japan is just, from top to bottom, they're also a cohesive unit. They've played together before. This is as good as it gets.
So one more guy to shout out, actually two more guys to shout out on the Korean team. Kwon Yoon Kim is going to start games for Korea, which is so fun. Like, I loved Kwon Yoon Kim in St. Louis. So he's going to be a starter for them. Another guy, Jung-Hoo Lee in the outfield. Jeff Passan, we talked about this on the call up, actually, Aram and I, in top prospects to watch in the WBC. But Jeff Passan tweeted out, now that Machado's off the books for next offseason, the market is going to be relatively thin in terms of bats, but a wild card bat is Jung-Hoo Lee, 24 years old. And Lee has balled out in the KBO. So he's a guy that, like, you shouldn't be shocked if he goes crazy in Pool B. So Lee is an outfielder, Jung-Hoo Lee, and then that middle infield tandem of Kim and Edman is really cool. Honestly, no brainer for me. It's Japan to win and Korea as the runner-up.
I'm the exact same way. The only country who's won 2 WBCs, this is the 5th WBC ever. And there's one country who's won 2 championships. Do you know who it is?
Japan, right?
It's Japan.
So it's, if I have this right, this is the 5th WBC. The U.S. won the last one.
Yep.
Japan won the middle 2 or the 1st and 3rd?
So
I think Japan 2, U.S. 1, Dominican 1, right?
Yeah. So USA won in 2017. Japan has won in 2006 and 2009. And Dominican Republic won in 2013.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So, yeah, Japan 2, U.S. 1, Dominican 1. All right. Japan is the winner. Korea the runner-up in Pool B.
Yep, I'm writing it down. Japan, Korea.
Okay. Pool C is loaded. Like, we're getting to the right side of the bracket here, and the right side of the bracket is what you should be tuning into. March 11 through 15 on both of them in Phoenix and Miami.
Yeah, this is going to be in America. I think you should tune into all these games. Like, they're going to be freaking awesome. It's just great baseball. Like, even if you're not watching big leaguers all the time, whether it's a Chinese Taipei, you're just going to see a really competitive atmosphere, and these stadiums are going to be jumping. We're going to be in Miami for like the semis and the final, and maybe even some of the quarters. And like, it's going to be like a football stadium. I mean, it's going to be like the Big House in Michigan. It's going to be like the Super Bowl for all of these games. You know, fans travel far and wide to come, and I cannot wait. And this in Pool C, the USA-Mexico game might be the loudest of any game in the World Baseball Classic.
I think Puerto Rico and the Dominican is going to give it a run for its money in Pool D. But I see what you're saying in Pool C being played in Phoenix. You've got the U.S., Mexico, Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain. I think one of these teams is the run to the litter. I think Great Britain now is, they've got Harry Ford catching for them, one of the top prospects in the Mariners system, but whoop-de-doo, like, there's kind of not much else going on.
Yeah. Sorry if there's any British fans of the Just Baseball show.
You assholes.
Yeah. We're dumping out your tea. We're dumping it in the freaking ocean. You ain't beating the United States, Brits.
No,
you're
not.
Beat us in 1776, and you ain't beating us now.
All right, let me walk you through notable names on Colombia's team. I'm going to do that for each team on the right side of the bracket here, because there are some seriously notable names. In terms of the pitching front, Nabil Crismat is on Colombia. Tyrone Guerrero, flamethrower, is on Colombia. Guerrero never really worked out at the big league level. I think he got a taste with the Marlins. I think he got a taste with the White Sox and maybe the Padres. But this dude, like, when he was right, he was like sitting 100.
That's what Tucker was saying. Like, he was saying that, a lot of these guys, you may not recognize their names, or you might watch 98 on the TV and say, who the hell is that? And you see some high A guy for the Royals, or just someone out of nowhere. And it's like, the stuff plays. Like, if you're throwing 98 miles an hour, we talk about with Andrew Painter, like, you can get big league hitters out if you throw upper 90s. I don't care what it is. Like, it can even be flat. If you're locating it on any given day, some of this stuff will play. So a guy like that who couldn't make it in the bigs over a long stretch, or wasn't needed in a certain role, you get him on a heater in the World Baseball Classic against another guy who maybe isn't a big leaguer yet. Like, he can shut him down. And sometimes he'll have a big at bat against a big time hitter, and it's like 98 at the top of the zone. You can get a fly out. Like, that kind of stuff is what I'm most excited to see, is that random guy that you've never heard of throwing 98 miles an hour, and you go, where the hell did he come from?
Right. So Tyrone Guerrero, 112 appearances across 2018 and 2019 with the Marlins. That's his only big league taste. A 5.8 ERA. He sat 99 with his fastball. 99.0. He sat 99.1 in 18, 98.9 in 2019. Guerrero 6'8", 225, by the way. Yeah, so that's what Colombia is running out.
The Colombian Sandy.
Yeah. Other guys, Jose Quintana. Quintana gonna start games. Raver San Martin, who obviously gets beat up in Major League Baseball, but we'll see what happens at the World Baseball Classic.
What? Swingman, Reaver San Martin plays. Yes, exactly. It plays.
And Julio Teheran also going to start games. But bats-wise, Jorge Alfaro, Elias Diaz, Jordan Diaz in the A's system, Evan Mendoza in the Cardinals system, Gio Urshela, your guy, Oscar Mercado, and Harold Ramirez.
Gio Urshela, my guy. Because
Gio Urshela is your guy.
Yeah, yes. Right, that's fine. I'll take him.
Was on the Yankees.
Yeah, I'll take him.
It's a decent crop. I just don't think it's as good as some of these other teams.
No, I think Canada's better.
Canada. Notable arms.
Cal Quantrill.
Yes. Matt Brash.
Yes.
Mitch Bratt in the Rangers system. Lower level minors, but Bratt can really throw. Rob Zastryzny.
Yeah,
that might be it.
Yeah, it gets real dry after that. No offense, real Canada, dry. But it gets real dry of just guys that you haven't heard of. But again, there could be guys who are just throwing 95. Like, you throw 95, you might get outs.
Right. And now the bats: Bo Naylor, Freddie Freeman,
Yes,
Edouard Julien, Abraham Toro, Jared Young, Denzel Clark in the A system, Tyler O'Neill, Owen Casey in the Cubs system, and Desan Brown, who just got added in the Jays system, might be close to an 80 runner. So this team, like, they have talent. The question is pitching depth. And the question is, are the prospects going to be good in the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, you put Canada in Pool A, and I think they might win that pool. But the problem is they just have two juggernauts at the top. But I could see a team like Canada, if Quantrill's starting a game, let's say he goes 4 innings of shutty, and then Freddie just puts the team on his back, and let's say it's a home run, goes 3 for 3 with a double. Like, we wouldn't be surprised about that at all. And they win in a low-scoring game. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility. I think Canada should be one of those teams where, if you're picking kind of a dark horse, I think they're one of the better dark horses in the World Baseball Classic, and that is not biased. That's not just because of Cal. It's also because of Freddie Freeman. Like, they have real stars at the top who can sometimes will you to a game. But if they're off, like if Freddie goes 0 in a game, it's over. Like, you need them to go crazy for Canada to win, and they totally can. So that's why I like them as a dark horse.
Got you. What are their odds to make it out of the pool?
Canada's odds to get out of the pool is plus 2,500, the same as Team Colombia.
Wow. Okay. Right? I would prefer Canada over Colombia.
No doubt. Canada should be plus 1,000 if Colombia is plus 2,500. I think they're much better.
Right. Mexico is kind of a wagon. Their 4-man rotation: Julio Urias, Taiwan Walker, Patrick Sandoval, and either Jose Urquidy or Javier Assad in the Cubs system. That's 5 deep. You probably only need 4. And then you've got Giovanni Gallegos waiting at the back of the bullpen.
With Luis Cessa. You have Luis Cessa.
Yes. You've got Oliver Perez, who was born in 1981. I mean, like, there are a bunch of options here that you can go to. I mean, that pitching staff is loaded. You take a look at the bats. Alejandro Kirk not there, but Austin Barnes is going to be the starting catcher now. Jonathan Aranda with the Rays, Joey Meneses with the Nats, Isaac Paredes with the Rays, Rowdy Tellez, Alan Trejo, Luis Urias, who I love. And then you go to the outfield: Randy Arozarena, Jaron Duran, Alec Thomas, Alex Verdugo. They're putting together a 500 MLB team.
Exactly. And they have Urias at the top of the rotation. And you said it yourself, spring training overreactions. If Urias is at his best, he can beat anybody in the world. I don't care if it's Sandy. I don't care if it's Ohtani. When Urias is right, he can beat anybody in the world. And when the lights shine, like Urias comes to play, this is a dangerous team, Jack.
That's the thing. We know he's built for the big moments in weird tournament type things, right?
So
WBC.
Is Randy.
So is Randy. Weird tournament type thing. The 2020 postseason.
Exactly.
Weird tournament type thing. The World Baseball Classic.
He's a tournament guy.
He is a tournament guy. He's not a postseason guy. He's a tournament guy.
He's a tournament guy.
But Randy may be a postseason guy.
Let's talk about the Team USA, then let's make a pick, because this is, I think, the most fascinating pool out of every single pool, because you have some dark horses, you have 2 guys at the top, and of course it's the United States where we live. Like, I think this is the pool to watch.
Yes. So the starting rotation, the 4-man rotation for the U.S. will probably be Brady Singer, Adam Wainwright, Lance Lynn, and either Merrill Kelly or Miles Michaelis. The bullpen's crazy, man. Jason Adam, Daniel Bard, David Bednar. I'm going alphabetically, if you can't tell. Like, I'm not going by notoriety.
Yeah.
Jason Adam, Daniel Bard, David Bednar, Nick Martinez, Adam Ottavino, Ryan Presley, Devin Williams. That bullpen's crazy. And I think that bullpens are going to mean a lot.
Yes.
But then you look at what they can run out in terms of a lineup. JT Realmuto and Will Smith are the catchers. The infielders on the roster: Pete Alonso, Tim Anderson, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Trey Turner, Bobby Witt Jr. The outfielders: Mookie Betts, Jeff McNeil listed as an outfielder, Cedric Mullins, Kyle Schwarber, Mike fucking Trout, Kyle Tucker. This team, if you actually took the best pitchers in the U.S. and put them on this team, goes 162-0 in the major leagues.
Yeah, this is as close to an all MLB team as we have. I mean, of course, we're going to go to the DR and you'll be like, wait, what about all those guys? But
right.
you just look up and down the roster, and it's like, you look at our top 10s list, right? We've been doing that a lot than just baseball show. You'll find number 2, number 3, number 1 on all these different lists on the United States team. And what they lack in starting pitching, they make up for in bullpens. And these starters, they're going to be on an innings limit anyway. So you shouldn't expect more than 3-4 innings from a guy like Brady Singer. And then you just go through a litany of elite bullpen arms. Like, I think this is the best bullpen in the World Baseball Classic, and it's not even close. So from a talent perspective, the United States is really right up there with the Dominican Republic. They really are. But they've had this level of talent before. They've faced Team Mexico before, where Team Mexico wasn't as loaded. And Team Mexico is 2-0 against them. They beat them in 2006 and 2013. In those games, you think to yourself, United States, of course, they're going to have home field advantage. It's being played in Arizona. Arizona's right next to that Mexico border.
Yeah.
And the last time these two teams played, 70% of the stadium was filled with Team Mexico fans. So I think of it like this. Julio Urias is on the mound with probably Sessa and Gallegos following him. It's not as crazy as the United States have. But the United States is going to have the pressure on them, while Team Mexico is going to feel like a home field advantage to them, or at least I'm thinking it will. You got Urias on the mound. You have a roster of big leaguers throughout the lineup who can all hit.
Yeah.
Plus 450 versus minus 420. Where's the value here? I think it's clear.
Yeah, it's clear as day that the value is there. And you know what they say. It's hard to beat the same team 3 times in an 18-year stretch.
That's a 18-year stretch. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, it's been, they don't play each other that often. I'm picking through straws here with 2006 and 2013. But if history repeats itself, the difference in value is crazy, crazy, crazy.
All right. I think we're going to do the same thing.
You going Team Mexico?
I'm going to go with Mexico to win and U.S. as a runner-up.
Let's go. That's mine too. No, we sound like such pieces of shit.
All right, I'm going to go with the U.S. to win. No. I'm going to go chalk. It's more acceptable if I go chalk because I'm not the gambling man or the not gambling man. So I will go U.S. to win, Mexico as a runner-up, and you go vice versa.
Okay. I just want the listeners of the Just Baseball Show to know that I value pitching more than country allegiance.
Fair. That's kind of how I go about my life too.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be an American when they have Julio Urias? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
all right,
curveball.
Pool D: Puerto Rico, Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Israel, and Nicaragua. Let's knock Nicaragua out right now. Okay. They have Jonathan Loaizaga, I do believe. That's awesome. Congratulations to Team Nicaragua. Who else they got? Erasmo Ramirez.
Just shout out Jonathan Loaizaga. Alex Bregman said he's the hardest pitcher to face in all of Major League Baseball. His
Loaizaga? Bro, yeah. I love Loaizaga. When that guy's on, he is like Yankee closer type. I think he's better than Holmes.
Yeah, I think so too. Or at least they're very similar. Very 99 mile an hour sinker. But I agree. Push comes to shove. Give me Loaizaga.
Shout out former Kansas City Royal Chesler Cuthbert, who's on this Nicaragua team. Shout out Erasmo Ramirez. Is he still kicking around?
Yeah, he's still on the Nationals. He's probably going to have 30 starts this year at a 5.2 ERA.
Is he still on the Nationals?
I'm like 99% positive.
Erasmo Ramirez. Who did he play for last year? Washington? Yeah, bro. He had 60 appearances out of the pen, and he had a sub-3 ERA. I'm such a casual. I don't know ball.
You don't know ball?
Wow. All right, I gotta go. I gotta read up on Erasmo Ramirez. Nicaragua out.
I think that's fair.
Sorry.
It's just the top 3 in this are just crazy. So it's unless it would have to be a miracle.
Yes. Israel, my holy land. Dean Kramer going to start games for him.
Okay.
Cool.
Jock Peterson.
Former guest of the Just Baseball Show, Ryan Lavarnway, going to be their catcher. Maybe Garrett Stubbs is the catcher. We'll see. But then they've got Mash Mervis in the Cubs system. They have Zach Geloff in the A's system. They have Spencer Horwitz, who's been tearing the cover off the ball for the Blue Jays in spring training. Then they've got King Ty Kelly, Danny Valencia in the infield, Alex Dickerson, and Jock Peterson. Ian Kinsler is the manager. Kevin Youkilis is the hitting coach and Brad Ausmus is the bench coach. If
That's
those guys
elite.
suited up and ripped it,
Wait,
they might make this team better.
How did Brad Ausmus get relegated to the bench coach when he's been an actual manager and Ian Kinsler and Kevin Youkilis have not been?
I think it's sex appeal. Like, why is Mark DeRosa the manager at Team USA? You know what I mean?
Like Piazza? Is it a goatee thing?
It might be a goatee thing, although D-Rose clean cut. Kinsler is fade beard. I think with Piazza, definitely a goatee thing.
Yeah, goatee thing.
But like Kinsler is the manager. That's strictly sex appeal.
I like Kinsler. I've always liked him as a player. And I haven't thought about his sex appeal. Maybe that's a you thing. But
I'm thinking sex appeal in terms of the name. I'm not talking about actual dude. We can talk about actual dude. All right. Israel, talented young guys. They do not hold a candle to what Puerto Rico, Venezuela, and the Dominican are putting up.
They just don't.
Cool
story. One thing for gambling people out there. Biggest line movement in the entire World Baseball Classic is this team. Israel. They moved from plus 8,500 at the Open to plus 6,500. So there are some smart bettors that hammered this team to get out of this pool in particular, which I found fascinating. I'm not going to put my money there, but for anyone who loves following line movement, that's the biggest one we have.
Yeah. All right. Let's start with Puerto Rico. I'm going to work up. I think the Dominican is the most talented. I think Venezuela is 2, and I think Puerto Rico is 3. So Puerto Rico, 2 for sure starters, Jose Barrios and Marcus Stroman.
Hate it.
So save your opinion on MLB Jose Barrios. Okay. But Barrios could be nasty in this tournament.
Or he could serve up a 94-mile-an-hour fastball that doesn't move on a platter, and then anybody in the world, if you've ever played professional baseball, can square that up.
Correct. So that could happen. Dominic Hamill is in the Mets system. He may start a game here and there. Their strength on the mound is in the bullpen. Alexis Diaz and Edwin Diaz is this crazy 2-headed monster. Oh, Derek Rodriguez may start games for them too. Dwayne Underwood is in this bullpen. Emilio Pagan is in this bullpen. Fernando Cruz, who is like a 30-year-old in the Red system, was their AAA closer last year. Liked him. Alex Claudio is in this bullpen. Anthony Maldonado in the Marlins system is in this bullpen. He throws gas. Jorge Lopez is in this bullpen.
Yeah, one of the best bullpen units, one of the best overall units in the World Baseball Classic is this Puerto Rico bullpen. You look at Jorge Lopez, you look at Edwin Diaz and Alexis Diaz. That's 3 big-time closers on one bullpen. It's not as deep as the United States, but in terms of if you need 3 good relievers like the Royals back in 2015, it's very similar to that. So they could will their way to a couple of wins here if that bullpen just closes the door and you get good starts from Stroman or Barrios.
Yes. All right, bats, catchers, 3 starting caliber catchers: Martin Maldonado, MJ Melendez, Christian Vasquez.
I'm guessing Maldonado is going to be doing most, if not all, the catching. You probably see MJ in the outfield and Vasquez probably DHing at some.
Correct, because they're listed outfielders: Joneshwi Fargas, Henry Ramos, Eddie Rosario, and Nelson Velasquez. Rosario will for sure start. Velasquez might. I would assume Melendez starts over Fargas and Ramos, but they're infield. They've got Javier Baez, they've got Kike Hernandez, they've got Francisco Lindor, they've got Emmanuel Rivera, they've got Vimael Machine. Like, there's some serious talent there.
The most flair of any infield of any unit in the World Baseball Classic. Javier Baez, I was speaking with Tucker about this. Javier Baez's stardom, I think, started with the tag. In this World Baseball Classic, right? Like, that's where I think he went from exciting player to star. One of the most electric plays I've really ever seen. He caught a ball from Yadier Molina and didn't look and made that tag. If we all remember that, I'm sure it reigns in everyone's head that ever watches baseball is that tag. And then you got Lindor and Kike. Like, this is going to be incredibly exciting baseball. I don't know how good they're going to be. History says that they're better than Venezuela. They've been successful against Venezuela, even with lesser teams than them. So they're a very good pick here. I like them a lot.
Yadier Molina is the manager.
Love it.
Sex appeal. Again, name sex appeal.
Yeah, I think when we think of sex appeal, we're thinking about completely two different things.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Although that's probably my fault now that I actually think about it. Venezuela is sick, like absolutely sick.
Awesome.
Their starting rotation, they've got choices out the ass alphabetically in no order. Luis Garcia is an option with the Astros. Pablo Lopez is an option. Jesus Luzardo is an option. Martin Perez, Eduardo Rodriguez, Ranger Suarez.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
So deep, but not star laden, right? Like there's no one on that team. It's like, let's get a bunch of 2s and 3s and put them in a rotation, which is still great. I'm not taking anything away from them. Yeah. It's just when we're comparing them, like Venezuela, Puerto Rico, USA, Japan, Dominican Republic, we hold them to a different standard because they're all so loaded. So it's like we might be more glass half full about some other teams who don't have this same level of talent, but I'm putting a glass half empty approach on this rotation because while there's so many good arms, I wouldn't say there's one great arm in the rotation.
You want Pablo Lopez starting games in the World Baseball Classic, or you want Brady Singer starting games in the World Baseball Classic?
It's probably a wash.
If it's a wash, like Singer is the best arm for the U.S.
Yeah, but Venezuela at the same time doesn't have the bullpen the United States does, and
Correct.
They're probably going for like 3 innings, 4 innings at most.
Correct. But can the U.S. pitching, and you won't have to deal with this until the U.S. is in Miami, but can it deal with this lineup? The 3 catchers on the roster, Robinson Chirinos, probably won't play, Omar Narvaez, and Salvador Perez. Wow.
Well, yeah, Omar's probably going to catch, and Salvi's probably going to play DH.
Although you've got Miguel Cabrera as the DH.
Yeah, but you want Salvador Perez hitting over.
Yeah, but
you know Miggy's going to make an impact. Yeah,
Miggy's going to play. Miggy's going to play, promise.
Yeah. He might play first.
Right. The infielders on the roster, Jose Altuve, Luis Arraez, Eduardo Escobar, Andres Jimenez, Luis Rengifo, Eugenio Suarez, Gleyber Torres. It gets better. The 3 outfielders on the roster, Ronald Acuna Jr., David Peralta, and Anthony Santander. There's no break here.
None. And you know Acuna is going to go nuts in this thing. Nuts.
Andres Jimenez may be hitting 8th.
Yeah. 6 WAR last year. Yeah, this team is crazy good. Like, everyone's talking about Dominican Republic, and you just forget about Venezuela and Puerto Rico. It's not that far off. It really isn't. There's a lot of really great teams in this thing. That's why I call it some of the best baseball that we're going to see all year.
Dude, I mean, I'm scrolling Sean Spradling right now. If you haven't seen Sean Spradling on Twitter, that guy is kicking ass in the World Baseball coverage. And something that he's been doing is putting out like projected lineups and rotations and everything like that. He's been making graphics. I mean, he is so good at this coverage. And I gave him a shout out on Twitter the other day, but I can't find a Venezuela graphic for him. I'm just trying to like picture the lineup for them because there are going to be all-star caliber players in the bottom third of that lineup.
Absolutely. Like this is going to look again like an all MLB team, similar to the United States, similar to Dominican Republic, similar to Puerto Rico, Mexico, Japan. They look like all MLB teams.
But now we go to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, then it gets a little crazy.
The projected starting rotation for the DR is Sandy Alcantara, Christian Javier, Johnny Cueto, and Roansy Contreras. Their bullpen, Brian Abreu, Genesis Cabrera, Diego Castillo, Enyel De Los Santos, who was awesome for the Guardians last year, your guy Camilo Doval, Harleen Garcia, Luis Garcia with the Padres, Jimmy Garcia, Rafael Montero, Joel Payamps, Gregory Soto. Wow.
Wow is right.
Wow.
It's so good. It's this Dominican Republic roster. They lost Vladdy, which is huge. But when Vladdy was on the team, I thought it was the greatest WBC roster I've ever seen. And I've been, when I was doing my betting preview, I was looking at past rosters, like trying to find, with Vladdy, this was the best roster I have ever seen. You're going to continue to go through it.
It's a super team. The 2 catchers on the roster are Francisco Mejia and Gary Sanchez. Gary can still hit.
It's a great platoon.
Yeah. Mejia can kind of hit, but I think he's a really good defensive catcher.
Yeah.
The infield, Willie Adames, Robinson Cano, Rafael Devers, Wander Franco, Manny Machado, Ketel Marte, Jeremy Pena, Gene Segura. Oh my God. Outfield,
The World
Teoscar
Series,
Hernandez.
wait a minute. The World Series MVP is probably going to be on the bench.
Probably with Franco playing short. And then you've got Teoscar Hernandez, Eloy Jimenez, Julio Rodriguez, and Juan Soto as the outfield.
Holy fuck.
I mean, so who's the outfield?
J-Rod, it's Juan Soto.
It's J-Rod in center, Soto in right, and Teoscar or Eloy in left.
Yeah, probably Eloy at DH.
And the infield now is probably going to
no,
be...
you have Devers and Machado. One of them has to DH. Devers probably, yeah.
Although, would you entertain slapping Devers at first now that Vladdy's out?
Who's their first baseman besides that? Yeah, then you have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Gary Sanchez?
Nah, Devers.
Devers may play first base.
He's getting booted off a position where he's top 5 at it.
His number one's there.
Number one's there.
Wow. Okay. We just walked through every roster. Who's your winner and runner-up in Pool D? Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Dominican, Israel, Nicaragua.
I got the DR winning. No shit. And then I'm going to go with Puerto Rico.
Wow, okay.
And the reason I'm going with Puerto Rico, it's a very similar. I'm looking at past history, and like Venezuela has had great teams like this before, and Puerto Rico has beaten them with lesser than what they have now. They're just something they got, and it doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at just rosters alone, but these World Baseball Classics, sometimes craziness happens, and Puerto Rico, the odds are kind of similar with Venezuela. Obviously, Venezuela is the bigger favorite, but I'm going with Puerto Rico.
I just went chalk out the ass. Venezuela is the runner-up, and the DR is the winner.
I mean, yeah, Venezuela is like a top 5 team. They're incredible. They're incredible.
Yeah. All right, quarterfinals here.
Wait, did you want to go back and talk about Japan's pitching? Could we talk about Japan?
No, we're going to do it. We're going to do it when we get farther.
All right.
I promise I'm stockpiling that.
Okay.
Quarterfinals, game 1. The runner-up from Pool B, I think we both have Korea, against the winner of Pool A. I've got Italy. Korea and Italy, who you got?
Well, I have Chinese Taipei.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I have Korea playing Chinese Taipei. Give me Korea.
Okay. I've got
Korea, Italy. You have Korea over Italy? Okay.
I do have Korea over Italy. Quarterfinal number 2. The runner-up from Pool A, which I have as the Netherlands, I think you have as Cuba.
Yep.
Against the winner of Pool B is Japan.
We'll make this easy. I think we both have Japan.
I have Japan over the Netherlands.
Yep.
And like single elimination is scary. Very scary. Japan could be bounced in the quarters.
You never know. That's why it's so much fun. That's why this thing is going to be great to watch.
Quarterfinal 3. The runner-up from Pool C, I've got Mexico as the runner-up. You've got U.S. as the runner-up, right?
Yep.
Against the winner from Pool D, which is the DR. So it's Mexico and the DR in the quarterfinals. And you've got Mexico you've got the U.S. against the DR in the quarterfinals.
I have U.S. against the DR.
Wow.
Do you have Mexico against the DR? Who are you going
I've got Mexico I've got DR over Mexico.
Okay. So you have DR over Mexico. I have the United States being the Dominican Republic.
Oh my God. Why?
USA. Come on.
Why?
I think that, you're going to line up Sandy, but it just comes down to these are the 2 best teams, I think, from a roster standpoint. And I'm an American.
Yeah. Okay. This is where fair reasoning. This is where it gets crazy.
What am I going to? I mean, I'm already I don't have the United States winning, but like I can't just have the United States getting bounced early. Like, yeah, they're going to beat the Dominican Republic. Come on.
Right. So, I mean, here we are talking about, Sandy versus Wainwright or Brady Singer, right? Obviously the edge to Sandy, but the question is how much does the starting pitcher matter? And I think that
deeper bullpen.
I think that the bullpens are comparable. I understand why you give the edge to the U.S. So, like if you can go Brady Singer to Bednar to whoever, to Bard, to Devin Williams. Like, it's just crazy. Damn, I wonder how people are going to score runs. But then I remember that Devers, Machado, and Wander are all in the same lineup. And I'm like, how are people going to get outs?
Yeah.
And Soto and J-Rod. I forgot about Soto and J-Rod.
Oh, I don't know if the United States is going to beat the Dominican, but I'm rolling with them.
Okay. I've got the DR over Mexico. And then quarterfinal 4 is the runner-up from Pool D. I have Venezuela against the winner of Pool C, and that's for me, the U.S. You've got Puerto Rico against Mexico, right?
Yeah, for me, it's Puerto Rico against Mexico, and I think Mexico wins that.
Okay. I've got
Venezuela versus United States.
Yeah, I've got the U.S. over Venezuela.
Okay. You're an American.
That's
my analysis. I'm an American.
Fair. But also, like the U.S., their bullpen, we just mentioned, crazy. Venezuela, their rotation's really good. Bullpen drops off a little bit. Yes, they have Jose Alvarado, but they don't have that litany of MLB caliber closers that the U.S. does.
Yeah. And we're Americans. So we
and
can
the
U.S.'s lineup,
but
we're going to bet on America anyway.
And the U.S.'s lineup is like the best thing I've ever fucking seen, aside from the DR's lineup.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to the semis here.
So you have Japan facing Korea to get to the final and USA facing DR to get to the final. I also have Japan and Korea. And then I have Mexico versus United States.
It's quarterfinal 1 against quarterfinal 3 and then 2 against 4.
So okay, so it's... Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Positive. I've got the bracket up here.
Okay.
All right. So 1 versus 3 for me would create Korea against the Dominican Republic, and I will absolutely go the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, that's fair. What is it for me then? Is it
you would have, let's see, who'd you have as the winner of your first quarterfinal?
First quarterfinal? What is that? Was that Cuba runner-up versus Japan?
No, it was Korea against Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, I had Korea winning that.
Okay, so Korea against the DR.
No, I had the DR losing the United States.
Yeah, that's right. You have U.S. against Korea.
Yeah, give me the United States. You kidding me?
Okay. The next semi I've got is 2 versus 4. For me, that's Japan and the U.S. Who is that for you?
For me, that's Japan and Mexico.
Do you want to talk about Japan's pitching now?
I think we should.
Yeah, we should. We should.
Yeah.
Because it's one game in the championship. Japan's pitching. Stack it up against the Dominican. Because Japan's pitching is better than the U.S. when you look at starting rotation.
I think it's the best starting rotation out of everyone.
I was going to say, so the DR is like, you've got Sandy, Javier, Cueto, Contreras. Like, that's probably the best rotation outside of Japan. 1-on-1, 4-inning spurts. Who are you taking, Sandy or Ohtani?
Sandy, but I mean,
it's really close.
It's 10.0 to 9.9.
Yeah, tiny margin, Sandy.
Yes.
Matchup 2. Yu Darvish, Christian Javier. 4-inning
Javier.
For me, because of the swingman experience, I go Javier as well.
Dominican Republic might have better pitching.
Small margin. But Cueto has kind of looked like ass this spring. And Cueto's going to start games.
Against
Roki Sasaki.
I don't know.
Give me the Wonder Kid by 1,000,000.
I know, but it's Cueto who's a big leaguer, and this kid's 20. But this kid,
but he's 102
throwing 102 with like back-to-back perfect games and no hitters in the MPB, and like one of the best pitching prospects. Shohei was asked, he was like, he's probably the best pitcher in Japan right now. And then they asked, "What about you?" And he's like, no. But it's like Shohei, then Roki Sasaki. Like, we're talking about Kodai Senga. Like, he said Roki's better. So
if you haven't gone down the Twitter, YouTube rabbit hole of Roki Sasaki, what are you doing? Go Go. It's Wembanyama type stuff. I was telling you about Wembanyama like a year and a half ago, right? I was just like,
Yeah.
you got to get down this YouTube hole. And then all of a sudden you come out and it's like, this is a better prospect than LeBron. You go down the Roki Sasaki rabbit hole and you come out saying, this guy's Nolan Ryan.
Talk about another YouTube rabbit hole. Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Correct. So the next question is Yamamoto against Roansy Contreras.
You go with the big leaguer, like you go with Roansy, but this guy, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 1.54 ERA over his past 2 seasons in the MPB, over 400 Ks in 386 innings, 91 mile-an-hour splitter, throws fuel, and multiple Cy Young Award winner. It's called the E.G. Sawamura Award in the NPB. Yeah. This guy is a stud, and he's supposed to be the top pitching, prospect coming over for the MPB next year. So Roki's in probably 2, maybe 3 years. Yeah. Yamamoto is next year. Like, you will see him in the World Baseball Classic and think, we need him on my team right now. He is also so good. Like, right now, he might be more polished than Roki Sasaki is.
So
he's got a 1.93 ERA in his career in the MPB. He's been pitching since he was 18.
Right. So we were just talking about this, Arm and I, on that top prospects in the WBC thing, because we were talking about Yamamoto and we were talking about Sasaki. The record for most lucrative contract ever handed to a player coming from the MPB is Masahiro Tanaka. Your Yankees, 7 years, 155. Sasaki surpasses that.
I think so.
Yamamoto might surpass that too with where the market is.
Or it might be the same.
Might be the same. Might be $150 million.
Yeah.
So that's an $150 million arm. Now you're paying a wild card. Roansy, I think Roansy Contreras can have this insane breakout year. This dude has talent out the ass. I'm telling you, yeah. I think he's the one for Pittsburgh at the end of this year. He's insanely talented.
Oh, crazy talented. Crazy breaker, good fastball. But you're right. Like, if Yamamoto was in the major leagues right now, he'd compete, maybe even better than Roansy. So I'm like, I'll take the big leaguer, but that's lazy. Like, Yamamoto, you watch his stuff, like, he's dominant.
Yes.
And he's got this crazy hitch in his arm where he's so whippy too. I went from Team Japan as the best pitching to hearing it and saying, and probably the DR, I'm back on Team Japan. I would take their 4-man rotation. It is deadly. We haven't even talked about Munetaka Murakami, really.
No. So Murakami is, awesome. Like, there's not much else to say about this guy. So,
Hideki Matsui was called Godzilla over there in the MPB. Hit 50 home runs in a season. Crazy. One of the better power hitters in the MPB. That's why he got that crazy contract with the Yankees and then came over in his second season at 31 home runs. Munetaka Murakami at 22 years old hit 58. This is an MVP winner, Triple Crown winner.
Yeah.
This guy is going to come over to Major League Baseball and I think be better than Seiya Suzuki, at least from the bat.
Right away.
Like, he's not the athlete that Seiya is, because Seiya has a bazooka arm. He's fast too. Murakami is a purebred hitter. Like, you put him in the box and he can hit anybody in the world. And he can hit anybody in the world out of the ballpark. He's going to hit some home runs. I'm the most excited to watch him play of any player in the World Baseball Classic, not named like a big leaguer. Like, obviously, I'm excited to watch Trout and J-Rod and those guys. But guys that aren't currently in Major League Baseball, I'm more excited to watch Murakami than I am Sasaki or Yamamoto or any other guy. Because he's going to be a Yankee.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Murakami is awesome. They've got a couple other guys, and like, obviously Ohtani is going to be in that lineup. Lars Nootbaar is going to be in that lineup. Shugo Maki is second baseman. He's going to be in that lineup. He's an incredible talent in the MPB. So the lineup is great. The pitching is unbelievable. The wild card is the bullpen. I have no idea what Japan's bullpen looks like.
It's going to be good.
Probably, but I have no idea. I'm gonna go Japan over the US because I think they start one of the pitchers that isn't Ohtani or Darvish, or Ohtani starts and Sasaki finishes. You know what I mean? Like, I think Ohtani could go 4 and Sasaki goes 5 to finish, or goes 3 and then they hand it over to the bullpen. I think that they are in it to win it a bit more than the U.S. may be. Does that make any sense?
No, it does. No, it does make sense. And this is also a Japan team who's played together a ton, and they have the most success out of any team in the World Baseball Classic before. And I don't know if they've ever had a team as talented as this. Right. You don't have Shohei in your prime, Yu Darvish, Roki Sasaki, Munetaka Murakami, Yamamoto. They have 3 phenoms combined with the best player on planet Earth. And they have big leaguers. Like, they have Nootbaar. Like, they have other guys across the field. And it's like the MPB, we say, well, how good is the MPB compared to the major leagues?
It's the second best
league in the world. It's better than AAA, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that far off. They use a little bit of a different ball. It's great.
It is far off. It is far off, but like,
not like that far off. It's not like, I mean, you said it yourself. If it's better than AAA, it's not that far off.
But the difference between AAA and Major League Baseball is drastic.
Yeah, it is. It is drastic.
As somebody that's watched like 89-mile-an-hour fastballs survive in AAA, I know that it's drastic.
I think that's a fair assessment.
All right, so I'm going to go with Japan over the U.S. Again, because I think that this is their platform versus the U.S. All those guys are, well, I got to go back and pitch for the Brewers. I got to go back and play for the Phillies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, so, I totally get you.
So that lines up for a final for me of Dominican and Japan. Yes, I think because of the bullpen strength and because that lineup is the craziest thing I've ever seen, the Dominican beats Japan in the final.
There you go. Dominican Republic for Jack. So for me, I have USA beating Japan already, right?
Yeah.
And then I have Mexico versus Korea.
Yes.
Yeah, give me Mexico in a rout. And then it's Team Mexico versus the United States of America. And what scenario did I pull out? Julio Urias, even in Florida, against the United States of America, with potentially 70% of the stadium rocking with Team Mexico fans. I'm going with Team Mexico to win it all. Team Mexico. Yep.
Bro.
There it is. I'm
brother, you're crazy.
Like, they're plus 1,800, right? I'm looking at this from a value perspective too. Like, yeah, it's easy. Like, the United States have a better roster than Team Mexico. And like, yeah, a good baseball pundit that you'd hear on MLB Network or on any other like big time radio show. Yeah, they're going to pick the United States over Team Mexico. But newsflash, those pundits aren't always right. Damn. And neither am I. But I'm going with a little bit of a wild card here. I'm not going with the team that's plus 200 to win it. I'm going with the team that's plus 1,800. But I am an American. So I just hedged it perfectly. Genius idea by me. Team USA wins.
I'm
American. Ecstatic.
You're thrilled.
Team Mexico wins. My pick is right. Props to me.
Bro, you're kicking ass. Wow. Good on you, man. All right, plug all your stuff.
So many things happening at Just Baseball. But again, if you guys want to get in on my picks, the texting service that is still in the episode description is still free until opening day. College baseball. My player prop projections are on there. But just a litany of podcasts on the Just Baseball Network, including my new podcast with Tucker Davidson, World Series champion, left-handed pitcher for the Angels. First episode is out. If you want to hear a player's perspective on the World Baseball Classic, you need more World Baseball Classic preview information, go check out that episode. The call up, again, more prospect stuff, World Baseball Classic content for prospects on the site. Your show with Taylor Davis.
Yep.
Show and Go. Great podcast. Go check that one out too. Just Fantasy Show is kicking ass and taking names. A lot of people are using their cheat sheets in order to win their fantasy leagues. Get your Just Baseball merch. Jack and I are both rocking our hats. Best way to support this podcast. But again, if you don't want to spend a dime, we totally understand. If you could rate this podcast 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit us with a like, hit us with a comment, and hit that subscribe button. Let us know who you think will win the World Baseball Classic. And leave something nice as a written review. You know, we like compliments. It makes us feel good. Yep. But if you have something bad to say, you know the rule. Don't say it at all. It's mean. Exactly. We take it to heart. And with that, thank you, everybody.